Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel Acing SAT and ACT. And in this video, we have come up with another video on grammar wherein we are going to learn all the rules and principles behind the usage of a comma. So as you all know, I'm your educator Gurpreet Singh, your top rated verbal ability and reading comprehension trainer with a proven track record of more than 8 years of providing training to 10,000 plus aspirants on various courses like SAT, ACT, IELTS, PT, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT at pan-India level as well as internationally. Along with that, I have certifications from various renowned corporates and institutions, and above that, I am a verified plus educator on Unacademy. So welcome to the world of commas, and in this video, as I told you, we would be focusing on SAT grammar, particularly important for the SAT writing and language section. So let's get started. So we are going to learn about all the rules that you would need to ace the SAT writing section like a pro. So the first and the primary usage of a comma is to separate items in a list. So to separate 3 or more items in a list. Now what can these items be? So keep in mind that these items can be nouns, these items can be words, or these items can be adjectives as well. For example, I need to buy kiwis, coconuts and limes. So kiwis, coconuts and limes are what? They are examples of nouns. Right? So I want to separate these nouns in the list. So how will I do that? I will be using commas to do that. Let's talk about the second example. This afternoon I'm going to study, work and babysit. Study, work and babysit are verbs. And how would you separate them in the list? The only option that you have is to use commas. The third example says, the marbles are bright, colorful and round. So bright, colorful and round. So they are examples of which parts of speech? Adjectives. And how would I separate them in the list? Again, I would be using commas. The second usage of a comma is to separate a dependent clause from an independent clause. Now you might be wondering, what are these? So a dependent clause, as the name suggests, dependent, they cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. They will need something else to convey their meaning. So dependent clause, that means a clause which cannot convey a complete thought. A dependent clause which cannot convey a complete thought or meaning. So a dependent clause always conveys an incomplete thought or incomplete meaning. That means it's going to be an incomplete sentence in itself. It will need something to convey a complete thought or a meaning. So while an independent clause is a complete sentence, an independent clause would be something which can convey a complete thought or a meaning. That means it's going to be a complete sentence. For example, whenever I write an essay, this is not a complete sentence. So this is a dependent clause. Whenever I write an essay, I get confused about where to put commas. This is an independent clause. So how would you separate these clauses in a sentence? Using commas. Next is, if the weather is nice tomorrow. If the weather is nice tomorrow, that's a dependent clause. It is not a complete sentence. It conveys an incomplete meaning or or an incomplete thought. So it's a dependent clause. If the weather is nice tomorrow, I'm going to the park. I'm going to the park is an independent clause, a complete sentence with a complete thought. Alright, let's move on. So always you have to bear one thing in mind. And what is that? The dependent clause must come first in the sentence if you use a comma. So that means a dependent clause followed by a comma and then the independent clause. Alright. But if it is vice versa, if the independent clause comes first, a comma is not used. So for example, if you use an independent clause first, you don't need a comma. You don't need a comma. So always bear this thing in mind that the dependent clause has to come first in the sentence if you use a comma. If the independent clause comes first, no comma is required. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So let's convert the same examples wherein we are moving the independent clause to the beginning. I get confused about where to put commas. This is an independent clause and I told you we don't require commas if independent clause comes first. I get confused about where to put commas. That is an independent clause. Whenever I write an essay, that's a dependent clause. I'm going to the park, that's an independent clause. If the weather is nice tomorrow, so that's a dependent clause. Okay, now the third usage of a comma is to separate two independent clauses. Now we saw what are independent clauses. Sentences which are complete, sentences which convey a complete thought, sentences which convey a complete meaning. So we use a comma to separate two independent clauses which are joined together by fanboys. Now what are these fanboys? They are examples of coordinating conjunctions. So fanboys is just an acronym. We are going to see what are they. So they are basically coordinating conjunctions. Conjunctions which link or join together two independent clauses. For example, so before we move on, I told you fanboys is an acronym. Is an acronym for remembering coordinating conjunctions. F stands for, A stands for and, N stands for nor, B stands for but, O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. So we just now saw this rule that each of the fanboys needs a comma in front of it. So whenever you would be joining two independent clauses using any of the fanboys, so whenever you would be joining two independent clauses using fanboys, you would require a comma in front of the coordinating conjunction. Alright? Okay. Next, for example, let's see. We have to go to the airport soon. We have a flight to catch. Both are complete sentences and we are joining them using the coordinating conjunction for. And you see a comma here? Okay. I tripped over a rock. I fell into a puddle. So you are joining two complete sentences. Sentences with a complete meaning, sentences with a complete thought, using the coordinating conjunction and you see a comma here as well. I do not want ice cream. I do not want apple pie. So you are joining both of them using the coordinating conjunction nor with a comma in front of it. He wants to buy a pair of pants. He has already spent his paycheck. So you are joining both of them using the coordinating conjunction but and a comma in front of it. We can drive to the beach. We can take a bus. So you are joining them using the coordinating conjunction or again with a comma in front of it. It was snowing outside. The roads were safe to drive on. Connecting them using the coordinating conjunction yet with a comma in front of it. The restaurant was inexpensive, so the family ate a lot for dinner. So we joined both of them using the coordinating conjunctions. So always remember that commas do come before fan voice. That's the golden rule. Now the next rule is for transitional expressions. We also term them as cohesive devices or transitional words. First example, the ending, however, is disappointing. So transitional expressions are enclosed within commas in the middle. The modern art at the museum was very ugly. However, the large marble statues were beautifully carved. On the one hand, this computer has more features. On the other hand, that computer is less expensive. Furthermore, Pablo didn't even like to eat vegetables. Now the next rule is commas used before and after non-restrictive information. Now that might seem like a technical word to you, but not to worry. Non-restrictive information is just an additional or extra information. Is just an additional or extra information. So even if we remove this extra information, the sentence would still be the same. It would not alter the meaning of the sentence. So it just gives me additional information about my subject, about my noun, about my pronoun. My father, a computer programmer, works late at night. So you see, all this extra information is embedded or enclosed within commas. My mother, who owns a blue truck, drove me to school today. Again, embedded within commas. Her dog, strangely enough, loves the mailman. So commas, they set off this extra information or clauses. So basically, as I told you, non-restrictive information is something which can be removed without changing the overall meaning of the sentence. Alright? Okay. Oranges have lots of vitamin C. Now what is that additional information I want to convey to the reader? That oranges which I eat daily have lots of vitamin C. The purse snatcher ran past me. So the purse snatcher was a small man. So I want to convey this additional information. The purse snatcher, a small man, ran past me. The purse snatcher who wore a ski cap ran past me. Stephen Strom will host a party next week. So who is Stephen Strom? Whose show you like? John is back on the job again. Who's John? John, who spent the last 3 days fishing. Alexander Pope is famous for his monologues. Alexander Pope, who's the restoration poet. So all this is extra information which I'm conveying to my reader. And this is usually set off within commas. Always remember this rule. Next is, commas are usually placed before and after quotation marks in a sentence. Now what are quotation marks? Quotation marks are the exact words said by a person. Alright, so they are generally accompanied by commas. Today is a great day to be outside, exclaimed the merchant. So those were the exact words of the merchant. So that's why we used a comma. According to Francis Bacon, knowledge is power. Alright, so those were the exact words of Francis Bacon. Frankie said, I'll be back by Sunday. So those were the exact words of Frankie. So they can be placed before and after quotation marks. I was told, she said, that Los Angeles is a beautiful city. Alright, so they can be placed before the quotation marks or they can be after the quotation marks. Next rule is for titles, addresses and dates. So usually commas are used to separate titles or positions after a name. For example, Captain Bitco. Who's Captain Bitco? He's the head of the theft department. Captain Bitco finally came to the interview room. So what is his position? He's the head of the theft department. So we use commas to separate titles or positions from the name. Sandra Belinsky. So who's Sandra Belinsky? What is her position? What is her title? She is the managing director. Alright, so commas are used to set off titles or positions following a name. Sandra Belinsky, MD, has been appointed to the board. Next is, commas also come between the individual elements of an address. For example, I told him I lived at 221B Baker Street, London, England. So you see, individual elements of the address are separated by commas: street, city and country. John Lennon was born in Liverpool, England in 1940. Alright, so commas also separate the individual elements in an address. Next rule is for dates. Commas usually separate the date and the year if the day is not involved. If the day of the month is not involved, we only have dates and year. For example, I had arrived in Durham in May 2004. Now we don't have a day. We just have the year and the month. So in that case, we don't use a comma. But if I do have a day, for example, May 21, 2004. Alright, so they separate the date and the year if the day is involved. Right, but if we have month only and year, then we don't use a comma. But in the style that is preferred internationally or by the University of Chicago, also known as the military format, we don't use commas, and the format is day followed by the month and the year. So in this format, we don't use commas. Next is, we use a comma to separate a statement from a question. For example, I can go. That's a statement. Can't I? That's the question. So you are separating the statement and the question using a comma. You're Marvin from my old Denver neighborhood, aren't you? So that's a statement. That's a statement. And this one is a question. And to be precise, known as question tags. I believe that's my jacket. That's a statement. Isn't it? That's a question. Isn't it? That's a question. So we use a comma to separate a statement from a question. Now we have come to the end of this video. Hope you have understood every rule pertaining to commas. Now here's a small assignment which I would like all of you to solve and share your answers in the comments below. So you have 5 sentences which require you to punctuate. So you have to add commas at places wherever necessary. So don't forget to share your answers in the comments below, and I would be checking your answers and letting you know how well have you done. If you want to know more and study with us on Unacademy for free, we do have free special classes for all of you where you can interact in real time with us. You can ask us questions and get your doubts resolved. You can participate in live quizzes and you can compete with your friends to make it to the leaderboard. Again, that's wonderful. And for all our premium batches, we do have subscription models where you can get access to structured courses for your SAT preparation. You can learn live from the comfort of your home, and one subscription gets you access to all our unlimited and comprehensive courses taught by top educators of India on one platform. And above that, we do have regular doubt clearing sessions and we do cover the entire syllabus for your preparation. So we will ensure that you are more than ready to crack your SAT with a perfect score. So to track your performance, we do have mock test series, live quizzes and practice sections. So why to wait? Come and join us on Unacademy Plus using my referral code Gurpreet10, which would fetch you an additional discount of 10% on your subscription. You can choose to be with us for 3 months or 6 months depending on your preparation time. So be realistic how much time you need, how much time you have, and what level are you currently at. But not to forget, use the referral code Gurpreet10 if you want to be a member of my Unacademy Plus family. You can also join us on Telegram. Our Telegram channel is Acing SAT and ACT, the link of which is already given to you in the description and is also shared on the screen. So if you found anything inappropriate in this video, you do have an opportunity to claim your prize by reporting any inappropriate content. And that's it. If you have liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel for more such updates and classes. And we would love to see you very soon on our Unacademy platform. Till then, take care and God bless you.